Okay, what's going on, everyone? I want to talk about something deep. See the eyebrow? You know it's deep when the eyebrow goes up deep. Now, whether you are a Christian or not, surely you've heard of things like the end time prophecies and stuff like that. It used to scare me to death when I was growing up. Book of Revelation, my mama and them be telling me. Remember the movie The Omen, Damien? Damien, is it true? Oh, Damien. Scared you half to death. Well, in the Bible, it talks about an end time situation where anybody who is living during that time will suffer persecution if they dare to speak against the system, speak against the Antichrist. And I used to think to myself as a kid, how would that ever happen? Come on, this is America. Freedom of speech. We should be able to say whatever we want. How could they ever take away our speech? Well, think about this. Everybody is going crazy right now over what Donald Trump said about Virginia. And he didn't just blame one group of people. Even though the media wanted him to do it, even though a lot of, say, liberals wanted him to do it, even a lot of Republicans thought that he should have done it. Definitely majority of black people felt he should have done it. And I think people are missing something deeper than what the eyes see. If you ever want to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, even Hitler said this, do it right out in the open and they won't even believe it. How can they ever get our society to a point where we're so hypersensitive, that we're so politically correct, that we feel we have the right to attack people, to silence them because we don't agree with them? Now, 20 years ago, there were minorities or small interest groups that had crazy outlandish beliefs, but they knew that they couldn't force those beliefs upon the majority of society because the majority of society was not accepting it. But as time has gone on, they have successfully been able to turn the tide to where a majority of society is willing to embrace stuff that a lot of society says that is ridiculous, but have gotten us to a point where if you say it, they can attack you based off of the ideal of this is hate speech. And you have a lot of people who claim they are liberal. Free. Liberal means what? Freedom? I'm very liberal. I mean, it's liberty. That's what we're teaching. Everybody should be embracing each other. And I believe in liberty and justice. But it's really an oxymoron because their idea of liberty and being liberal and being free and being open-minded has the reverse effect, because based off of their open-mindedness, if you don't think like they do, then they feel they have the right to shut you down, to attack you, to silence you. Now, here's what's crazy about this. They're going crazy because Donald Trump did not say the white nationalists, Ku Klux Klans and all them are wicked, evil people who shouldn't even be allowed to protest and speak that wicked, hateful language that they speak, and so on and so on and so forth. Now, here's my take. I'm black. I have no interest in the Ku Klux Klan, white nationalist groups. I do not believe that what they believe in is right. I do not condone what they say. And I know that Donald Trump don't either. But one thing I do believe in is we all have the right to freedom of speech. And when you look at how they have tried to double trap the president, all right, and this is how you do it. If you want to get a society to the point where freedom of speech is attacked and accepted, you do it smoothly. You don't just do it right away. And this is how America will get lulled to sleep and not catch how they're going to slide this system right in under their nose and you won't even catch it. Now, I used to be a wrestler. When I would attack my opponent, I'm thinking 3 or 4 moves ahead of him. Now, he is looking at me going like this, looking at that leg, right? Yeah, he like, oh man, this dude's looking at my leg. Obviously, he wants my leg. I don't really want his leg. I want his neck. He's thinking this guy wants my leg. And I will even telegraph it. Pop, pop, pop. Go down towards his leg. He goes down. Oh, let me stop him from getting my leg. Before I grab the leg, I'm around his back, choking him out from behind. Now, you look at society right now. Everybody thinks this whole thing is about racism. It's about Donald Trump and his antics. It's about liberty. And it's about everybody embracing everyone, holding, feeling. We all should come together in love, and we should. But that's not what this is really about. What this is really about is another way to attack freedom of speech. What they did is they said, you know what, President? We done already painted this narrative that you are racist and you accept white supremacy and you accept the KKK and all that stuff because you're not aggressive enough towards them. So you must indirectly embrace them. You didn't call them out by name. Therefore, you must indirectly support them. That would be equivalent to saying, since Obama never said radical Islam, he supports them. See, but nonetheless, they wanted him to do that. And Donald Trump is refusing to play the political games. Because see, what they really want him to do is say, forget about the fact that all of these liberal protesters came violently ready. They came with mass helmets, stuff like that, baseball bats, and they knew they were walking into a confrontational situation. They knew when they go down there and the Klan is going to be there, and they go down there and the white supremacists is going to be there, they know that that is a hostile environment. They came with stuff prepared to go to war. I ain't talking about all of them on either side, but I am saying the far left and the far right both came ready to go to war. Now, people don't want to talk about that. And Donald Trump, his biggest flaw is he can't sit back and say, I'm going to feed the people doo-doo and tell them it's chocolate. They wanted him to get up there and do one of two things. They either wanted him to say, you know what? These white supremacists and stuff need to be silenced. They are wicked, evil, which they are. But what they did, as much as I despise it and as much as most of America despise it, is protected under freedom of speech. Now, if we get to the point where we embrace freedom of speech being violently attacked, that opens up the door to say, you know what, whatever the masses deem to be hate speech can now be justified with violently attacking whoever says it. Yes, today it might be words coming out of white nationalists or the Ku Klux Klan. But what happened when it comes out of, say, the church? When the church says, you know what, we just don't believe in marrying homosexuals. That's hate speech. What happens when people come to you as a scientist and you say, look, man, I don't believe that if you're born a man, you can just change your sexual orientation and be a woman. That is hate speech. Now, at that point, it goes from people who, yes, should be just totally dealt with when it comes to their horrible philosophy, and they should be protested against, not violently, but protested against peacefully. But what happens when that behavior becomes accepted in other categories? It's a bigger agenda. It's not about just dealing with the KKK, dealing with them. As much as I don't agree with them, they're still unfortunately protected by freedom of speech. And they wanted Donald Trump to get to the point where he says, silence them, which would, of course, violate the First Amendment, their rights, and so on and so forth. When you have a group come down there and they know it's going to get confrontational, they came for war as well. They want Donald Trump to act like he didn't see that. And let me tell you how this is all getting set up. And I want you to think about this. For months, this is how you get a society to embrace something. You do it smoothly. First things first, Donald Trump ran for president. And the left and the media did something called gaslighting. They did everything they can to make you believe stuff that wasn't real and also question stuff that was real. So they got you to a point to where a lot of Americans will say, you know what, here's a man who's in his 70s, never was called a racist by anybody. You didn't hear about it in entertainment. You didn't hear about the black people who hung with him and ran with him. Nobody talked about, man, Donald Trump was hanging with the Klan the other day. Donald Trump and them Nazis, man, he be chilling with them. I don't even think, you ain't never heard about him having a conversation via phone, nothing with a Nazi. You ain't heard about him talking to any Klan members, nothing. In fact, there's a video of him talking about how horrible David Duke was back in like 89 or something. Here you have videos of him hanging with Russell Simmons. You got videos of him and George Foreman chilling. White supremacists and KKK members don't do that. You got history of him supporting black organizations, receiving rewards from black organizations. Now all of a sudden, they want you to believe in his 70s, he decide, I'm going to become a KKK member. I'm going to go ahead and join the white supremacists. That's what they're trying to get you to believe. That's called gaslighting. It's making you question common sense. Stuff like that. Man, no evidence whatsoever in this man's life. And then he becomes 70, he becomes a hardcore racist. And everything he does and supports is based off of racism. That's right. Oh, forget common sense about keeping us safe on the borders. All of that is generated by hate and racism. Forget protecting us from radical Islam. All of that is generated by hate and racism. Forget being tough on North Korea because they pose a threat to America. That's just him being a warmonger and wanting to see death and destruction. Making common sense things sound crazy because they bombard your psyche through reinforcement of the liberal media and also the liberal Democrats and so on and so forth. To the point where you hear it so much where you actually start to embrace it. Give you an example. 20 years ago, somebody would come to you and say, man, you know what? This guy that was born a man said that at a blink of an eye, he could wake up and say, now I am a woman. You would have laughed. But then over time, reinforcement, putting it before you all the time. Now people question, well, I mean, you never know. I mean, yeah. We've been knowing what a man and a woman was for over 6,000 years. Now all of a sudden we're questioning it because it's been reinforced through the media, through liberals and all that stuff to where you embrace it. So now you get all of these people who flips out over Donald Trump because, of course, the media combined with the Democrats have bombarded a lot of our society trying to win the election by painting him as a full-blown racist, sexist, and everything else is. But those that have believed it now feel they gotta take a stance against it. Then you get other entities that are under the water, the current. You see just the stuff on the top. You don't see the people motivating it. And they get these interest groups, these radical people who go out and they've been protesting, breaking stuff, breaking windows, burning stuff. Where are the people denouncing them? Where are the Democrats coming out and saying, stop that? Where are the media covering all of that? Why aren't they covering that? Why? Because they want that to happen. They're going, yes, freedom of speech only applies to us who feel we have the moral compass to determine what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, by turning a deaf ear, acting like you're not even seeing the fact that they tearing up stuff on campus, is subliminally making people feel like if I want to attack people who I feel is promoting hate speech, I have the right. And guess what? The authorities of our society won't do nothing about it. In fact, by ignoring it, they are justifying it. All right. So now you don't hear nobody denouncing that. OK, then you get this situation in Virginia. As horrible as it was, they came down there for trouble. You think that the media wanted to stop that? You think that any of the liberal Democrats who know, oh crap, it's about to go down, you think they was gonna go, hey man, let's get together and tell these people, don't do that. You're going into a bad situation. That's a perfect storm. Y'all gonna be scrapping. No, they're going, you know what? Let it go down. Because if it go down, we can say, look at the good guys, even though we know that these good guys came ready to go to war as well. Just like they sent them into the Donald Trump rallies with the mission of starting trouble, then blaming Donald Trump. Yeah, it's redirection, misdirection. Look up here why they're doing something down here. So the point is, they go down there, trouble starts. The media don't want to recognize the fact that other people contributed to that, and it's a greater motive to tolerating it and letting it go on. And Donald Trump now either has to do one of two things. He has to get up and say, you know what? All of the other people who don't agree with the left, who is out there, freedom of speech, they out there protesting, regardless of how much we despise what they believe in, they don't have the right to say it, to get out there and do it. You know, or he doesn't address that. He tries to equally distribute the blame, because if you want to keep it real, his biggest flaw is he has to keep it real. He can't sit back and go, y'all acting like I don't see this over here. Y'all acting like this contributed to this. So my point is, he has to either do one of two things. He has to either condemn them, which justifies them to shut them up, to attack them, to make them not be able to exercise their freedom of speech, or he has to be able to try to equally distribute the blame, which causes people to say, since you didn't just attack just them, now you must be with them. And that's not the case. He sees the game that is trying to be played so that they open up the floodgates to be able to attack anybody that says, I don't think that's right. I just simply don't believe in it. I'm not making you a birthday cake with 2 men on it because it violates my religious beliefs. What? That is hate speech. Look, man, I just do not believe that if I wake up one day and say, I believe I'm a chicken, that you should start feeding me chicken feed, and I should be able to sue my job because they won't build me a chicken coop on the job because they don't respect my rights to be a chicken that day. Where does it stop? And this is what the bigger plan is. It is setting our society up to be afraid to support and protect our freedom of speech. Thus, one day in the near future, when whoever, and this is going back to the biblical thing that I talked about. Some of y'all, if you don't believe in the Bible, that's up to you. But my point is, there will come a time, this is just the groundwork. There will come a time where the liberal society of that era is going to hate anybody who disagrees with them. And because they're starting to tolerate it right now and just whisper about shutting down things that they deem as hate speech with no definition of what that is. Yes, right now we can identify, yeah, okay, the Ku Klux Klan, now that is hate speech. The white supremacists, that is hate speech. But now it's easier to transition into what they're talking about biblically, since it makes me feel bad in my conscience, that's hate speech. Since it doesn't agree with our lifestyle, that's hate speech. Get them. Now, if you don't believe that this is happening right under you just wait and see. All of this stuff that's going on down in Virginia, it's not about Ku Klux Klans. It's not, people might think that is what it's about, but it's not really about that. It's about something way deeper. And if you have your spiritual eyes on, if you are a deeper thinker, if you're not an emotional, impulsive person that just gets sucked up in the oh man, look at this, you'll be able to see through it. And unfortunately, Donald Trump, I think he sees through it. He sees what they're really trying to do. And because he's trying to juggle and balance that, it's costing him. People are going, well, he must be a racist. I don't see it that way. I see him seeing the bigger agenda, what they're really trying to do. They're trying to push him one way or another. Either condemn this group and justify us for attacking them to silence them. Not just protesting against them, going down and attacking them to silence them. Or you don't condemn them and we say, you must be with them then. So don't be fooled by this. See this for what it really is. Use some common sense, some wisdom. Unfortunately, Donald Trump, they ticked him off and he just went off today on them. But he said something that makes sense. And he said, look, nobody wants to say it, but there was blame on both sides. His biggest flaw is he has to keep it real, even when people don't want to hear that realism. So think about that. This is deep.